Bryant wants to know, what if Eric never did a cruiserweight division? Boy, now that's a big what if, and I know that, listen, the internet is going to take issue with this, I'm sure, but if you're not showcasing that style in a big way, does the WWF ever embrace it? Does it ever really catch fire?
Absolutely not. You know that. We all know people who know Vince well, who know that. This was the antithesis of Vince McMahon's philosophy on wrestling. There's no doubt about that. Anybody that argues that fact is just entertaining themselves, making themselves look pretty fucking stupid in the process, but they're just entertaining themselves because we all know what Vince's appetite was when it came to talent. And it wasn't 5'7", 145-pound Mexican guys. Anybody out there disagree with me?
Nope.
Go to ericbischoff.com. Tell me why. You just got to be real, and you got to, no matter what your feelings are. And I know there's people out there listening to the show, which is always interesting to me, that people that are out there listening to the show and they get pissed off at what I say. I don't know. It says a lot about people, but I put the cruiserweights, I put the luchadors, I brought the Japanese junior heavyweights. I brought them in, not occasionally, like others had done before me. Paul Heyman brought in Rey Mysterio before I did, but he didn't have a national television platform in prime time. He didn't give Rey the exposure that I was able to give him and to create the awareness for guys like Rey and Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko and all the luchadors and on and on and on. And I know this is going to sound like me putting myself over, but I really don't care. If I had not have used the cruiserweights as effectively as I did, not just giving them an opportunity, I gave them a platform to expose their style of work to a world that had 99% of them had never seen it before, maybe 95%. And I venture to say, had that not happened, you would be saying to yourself right now, Rey who? Eddie what? Who are those guys? And like I said, I know people are going to take exception to that, but have at it.
Let's do another one here from Steck Money Records. What if you didn't get a deal to do the tapings at Disney MGM? Were there any other options for places to do tapings at for syndicated shows? That's interesting. If you didn't set up some sort of a half-ass residency with MGM, where would you have done it, Eric?
I don't think I would have. I mean, Universal Studios was an option. They had studios there as well, as did Disney MGM Studios. So there were two soundstage locations that were brandable. Keep in mind, the reason why I went to Disney was, yes, partly to facilitate a more cost-efficient way of producing our syndicated show, because it was becoming less and less relevant as it related to our budget in terms of revenue. We weren't getting as much for it as we really needed to keep doing it. So I had to find a cheaper way to do it. And I also wanted to brand WCW. I wanted to get WCW in the minds of ad buyer, and Conrad, you'll understand this, in the minds of ad agencies, because they're the ones that recommend someone like WCW to their client, someone like Chevrolet, for example, right? Well, in order for them, that ad agency, to feel comfortable recommending you to their client, because they're going to be judged by that client on the quality of opportunities that that agency brings to the client. So if you're an ad agency and you're someone like Eric Bischoff comes to you and says, hey, I've got this thing called Worldwide Wrestling, and we're on all these different cities, and here's our ratings, and I'll make you a hell of a deal. He's got to have, or she has to have, the confidence to take this opportunity to their client. WCW, no one in their right freaking mind back then would have felt comfortable bringing WCW as an opportunity to their clients. I had to change that. I had to change the perception of WCW, because it wasn't like WCW started the first day I showed up. WCW had been around. WCW had a track record. WCW had an impression amongst ad agencies and clients. So it would have taken a while to get there, is I guess what I'm trying to say. I made the decision to go to Disney because, yes, I wanted to save money. I wanted to take advantage of efficiencies, right, across the board. Shooting, 15 shows in 3 days is a lot better than going out the door and shooting 15 shows over a 7-week period, assuming you can do 2 a week. So that's what I was trying to do. And there were only 2 options. One was Disney. That was my first choice because everybody knew the Disney brand. And as weird as it sounds to say Disney and professional wrestling, especially back then, that's what made me want to do it more. Universal in WCW still would have worked, would have been close, but it wouldn't have been as good as Disney, in my opinion, because Disney and wrestling, it would have forced ad agencies to go, what? WCW and Disney, I got to look into this. It would have at least helped us open the doors a little bit. It wasn't like, I just need to go shoot these shows as cheap as I can. We're already doing that. But Disney was the ultimate solution. Not ultimately the best end of the story, but for what I needed at that time, it was perfect.
Ari Rosenbaum says, what if Verne Gagne wasn't stuck in the 70s and put the belt on Hogan? Where would that put the AWA and Vince? Of course, I think the rest of the story is he also needed to pay Hulk the merch money. Verne had started selling Hulkamania t-shirts and he wasn't paying Terry anything. So obviously there's more than just putting the belt with him, but the spirit of the question is, what if Verne had hung on to Hulk? What do you think, Eric?
I'd probably still be living in Minneapolis working for Verne or in one way, shape, or form. It would have, that's one of those what ifs that at least because I kind of know a little, at least I have a perspective on where the business was back then from reading Brad Blajukian's book. He does a great job, from talking to Verne, and when I used to work for him. I don't know, man. I don't think we'd be watching WWE. If we were, who knows? It's too hard. Too much time has gone by. I think no matter what people think of Vince McMahon, he is relentless, focused, and would not let anything get in the way of building WWF in his vision. But without Hogan, that would have been much more difficult. How much more difficult? I couldn't even guess. But just knowing a little bit about the financial history of WWF, again, based on Brad's book, Six Pack. I don't know. Maybe he would have found a way. But without Hulk Hogan, I'm not sure it would have been anywhere near the same timeline.